Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're doing well today, and welcome to lesson 9.6, which is called Simple Machines. Now, if you have not yet done lessons 9.4 or 9.5, please go back and check those out before we go into lesson 9.6, because we talk about some stuff back there that's going to be important for understanding what we're talking about today. But if you're all caught up, then let's go ahead and jump into this very short lesson. So what is a simple machine? Well, we said a machine is a device that makes work easier. A simple machine does work in only one motion, so it doesn't have a lot of complicated moving parts. All of the simple machines we're going to talk about today, and there's 6 of them, they all involve just one moving part. So we'll start with our first simple machine, which is an inclined plane. An inclined plane is just a flat surface that is tilted at an angle, so basically a ramp. This piece of wood here is functioning as an inclined plane. The wheelbarrow is what we call a compound machine. We'll get into that in just a couple of minutes, but for right now, let's focus on the ramp. A ramp enables you to lift a load using less force than if you had to just lift it straight up. The second type of simple machine is called a wedge, and some people refer to a wedge as 2 inclined planes stuck back to back. It's thicker on one end and thinner on the other end. A wedge is generally used to split objects apart. The sharper the wedge, the more mechanical advantage it has. So an axe head, for example, is an example of a wedge, and if the axe head is dull, then it's very, very hard to split a piece of wood because you don't have a lot of mechanical advantage. But if you sharpen the axe head, then you get a lot of mechanical advantage, and that makes it very easy to split a piece of wood. The blade of a knife and a razor blade are also examples of wedges. The next type of simple machine is a screw. A screw is just an inclined plane like a ramp, except instead of being straight, it's wrapped around a cylinder. A screw turns rotational motion into straight line motion. So for example, if you put a screwdriver in here and you turn around and around and around, the screw will very slowly work its way down into a piece of wood. And it takes much less force to turn the screw down into a piece of wood than it would if you just tried to drive it straight in, but the trade-off is distance. You have to turn the screw through a much, much, much greater distance than if you just drove it straight in. So less force, but more distance. The base of a light bulb is also a screw, and again, you have to twist the light bulb around and around in order to drive it just a very short distance down into its socket. The next type of simple machine is going to be a lever. A lever is a bar that rotates around a fixed point. That fixed point is known as a fulcrum. Here you can see a guy using a lever to raise a rock. He applies force on one end of the lever, and the lever applies force to the stone on the other end. A seesaw, a baseball bat, and scissors are all examples of levers. And let me be clear, the ends of the scissors, the blades of the scissors, are wedges, but the point of the scissors where they're fastened together, that's a lever. Next we have a pulley. A pulley is a rope wrapped around a wheel. A block and tackle system or a ski lift are both examples of pulleys. You can use a pulley to lift a load, and it can change the direction of force, so instead of picking up, you can pull the rope downwards. Also, the more wheels and ropes you have, the more mechanical advantage you have, which makes it easier and easier to lift that load. But once again, the trade-off is distance. The easier it is to lift the load, the more rope you'll have to pull in order to cause the load to raise by a small amount. The final simple machine is a wheel and axle. A wheel and axle is 2 wheels of different sizes stuck together, so that when one wheel spins, the other wheel is forced to spin too. If one wheel can spin but the other one doesn't, then it's not a wheel and axle. They have to spin together. A steering wheel and a screwdriver are both examples of wheels and axles. Think of a screwdriver. The handle is one wheel, and then the shaft is a smaller wheel. When you turn the handle of a screwdriver, then the shaft is forced to turn as well. Applying a small force to the bigger wheel will cause a much bigger force on the smaller wheel. So that's all the types of simple machines. When simple machines act together, it creates a compound machine. And a compound machine is just one or is more than one simple machine acting together. A shovel would be an example of a compound machine. The handle of a shovel is a lever. You hold one part of the shovel so that it doesn't move much and you apply force to the other. The blade of the shovel is a wedge. You can drive it down into the dirt and use to separate clumps. So you have a lever and a wedge acting together to make a compound machine known as a shovel. Well, that's going to be it for lesson 9.6. Folks, I appreciate your time and attention. Please head on over to Google Classroom. I'll have a short assignment for you there. Come back tomorrow when we'll be moving into Unit 10. Until then, take care of yourselves. Keep washing your hands. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye.